Recently, we just had Bitcoin pump all the way to 31K and it's now sitting at these critical levels. And today I've got a few charts that I want to show you guys that suggest we could be seeing a $40,000 Bitcoin within the next few weeks. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, the first place that I want to start is that we have reached $31,000 for Bitcoin's level, which is a very big psychological level in Bitcoin's price. Now, there's a couple key factors that I do want to talk about. We'll start on the daily, and then I'll go over some of the other important things. But one thing we need to notice is that $30,000 is a very important level, not because it's just a round number or a psychological number, but this is also where we have a lot of price action in Bitcoin's price. As you can see right here, we've had multiple retests and touches all along this area, even dating back all the way to here, May 2022, April 23, and then obviously today. Now, one really important thing that I want you guys to notice, and this happens over and over and over again on the charts, is that whenever we do reach these critical levels, it's very important to see what price does, because that can indicate where it might be going next. Now, one thing that we saw in April of 23 is that we created a high all the way over here at $31,035. So I'm going to draw a line over here and we'll mark it out to the right. Now, you could see something very interesting is that not only did Bitcoin's price reach this level, but it actually wicked just above it. And what I mean by that is that at one point, Bitcoin's price was this full green candle. However, it closed below. So price went above $31,035. Its high reached around $31,500. So while we had this wick above, now it looks like the price is going to start rejecting, which I think in the short term we could, because we see this over and over and over in Bitcoin's price, where what we have is somewhat of a low set in. And then what happens is price miraculously or coincidentally just wicks below and then reverses directions. Now, a big reason behind this, there's obviously a lot of factors, but market manipulation is a big thing. We have a lot of traders, we have a lot of institutional money in these markets right now, and one way that they like to make money is off of retail. And so whenever we get to these very important levels, you might see some market manipulation, maybe not something very evident, but whenever we get to these critical levels, it's very interesting to see how price action corresponds and wicks down and then reverses off these critical levels. Now, as far as zooming out and looking a little bit more in terms of a longer time frame, we have this very beautiful chart showing the 4 Bitcoin halvings and what's happened in terms of its price. Now, in 2012, all the way from the top to the bottom, we had a 50% drop. In 2016, about a 40% drop. 2020, a 30%, and its Twitter account, Stock Money Lizard, says that in 2023, we should see the same thing where we fall about 20 to 30% from the top to the bottom in terms of our bear market. And what we should be doing is that until we see the Bitcoin halving, he believes that we should see around a $50,000 price target for Bitcoin. Now, while that's definitely possible, I think that we could see something a little bit shorter. And while we may see a bump up to 40,000, I think what we're going to see is more consolidation until the actual Bitcoin halving. Now, what I have here is a Bitcoin historical risk level chart. Basically, just to put it very clearly, the purpose of the risk metric is not to predict price bottoms and tops, but rather to identify areas that should be attractive for buying and selling points. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take Bitcoin's price away. So the risk level goes from 0 to 1. The higher it is, obviously, the less attractive it is because now you're buying at all-time highs, and the vice versa is true, where if you're buying at these lows, that's when you're buying Bitcoin at the best price. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in to 2019, the bear market, and we're going to see how that played out corresponding to what's going on today. So what we have here is I'm going to take these 2 bull markets and we're going to see what happened in terms of price. So what we had is a rise, right, the top of the bull market when we had our all-time highs, and then we had this massive drop. If we look at the same thing in our bull market 2021, we had this massive rise, hit all-time highs, and then this massive drop. So right around this area is when we had the bottom of both Bitcoin's price in 2019 and 2022. Then what we had is somewhat of a rally all the way to the risk levels of around 0.6. We're in that same phase where we're starting to kind of have this rally all the way up, but currently we're sitting at 0.54. So we do have some room to the upside that we can still move. How much in terms of price, we don't really know. If we look at Bitcoin's price, all the way from down here, this is around where we're at right now. The risk levels of, let's say, 0.54. Price was around 9.2 thousand, and it rose all the way to around 12,000 for Bitcoin's price. So a $3,000 price range, or really just 25%. If we do the same thing over here, we're sitting at around 31,000, another 25% rise. That's around 40,000, give or take. So what happened is that we did rise to this 0.6 risk level, and then eventually what happened is that we actually dropped. Obviously, this is a black swan event because this was just the pandemic. This was COVID. So obviously, if we take this away, this massive drop right here, you can see that price was falling, and it actually caught a support at 0.364 at this very important floor. And then we kind of consolidated until the Bitcoin halving. Price didn't really do anything, and then it shot up. So if we follow the same exact sort of criteria, let me take it and look at it this way. Well, we could see the same thing, is that we have a little bit of a boost in price, or at least in this risk level. I'll overlay Bitcoin's price again. We could get a boost, maybe another $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in Bitcoin's price. And then what's going to happen is the same thing that happened in 2019, where we had this boost, and then we started to consolidate and continuously fall, and then basically just wait until the Bitcoin halving. Now, one really important thing is that I think in the short-term time frame, what we could see is kind of this pullback in terms of Bitcoin's price, because what we talked about is that this yellow line was a very important resistance at one point, and what we had is the markets took it out with this massive green candle, and now prices are starting to reject it. So maybe we do fall a little bit more in the short term, but in terms of the price overall, I think what we could be seeing is maybe one more rise in terms of Bitcoin's price, maybe something like that. Obviously, we're going to staircase it on the way there, but in the short term, maybe we do get a low below these, maybe below 29,000, 28,000, but I think eventually we do get back up here. And if we go back to the daily, one thing we see is that if we take a look at price, you can see that a lot of these candles right around here, and I'll mark it with this blue rectangle, it was just bearish price action, right? There wasn't a lot of liquidity. Typically, when you see these massive falls in prices, because there's not a lot of liquidity at these spots. Liquidity is the main driver in all markets, whether you're talking about Bitcoin, S&P 500, or whatever it may be. If there's no money in the markets or no money in the order books, typically what's going to happen is price is going to fall through or shoot past above it, because price goes to where the money is. And so if there's no liquidity right here, typically in the past, then in the future, it's going to be a very similar scenario. So if we do get Bitcoin's price, let's say shooting above 31K, and it gets into this blue area, odds are there's also not going to be that much liquidity in this area, and it could shoot up to the next price action zone, which would be right around here, which corresponds with the price of 37,000 to around 40,000. So that's just my personal prediction. I think in the short term, we could see some volatility back to the downside. Obviously, we had this 25% pump in the markets, and typically the markets need to somewhat cool off or retrace, kind of something like what we saw here, where we had the markets from this bottom to this top. We had a 58% rally, and then from the top to bottom, we had a 20% retracement. Maybe we see something similar where from the bottom to the top, we had a 26% rally, and then maybe we retrace a little bit, maybe down to right around here, the $28,000 level. Again, if we do break above 31K, get in this lack of liquidity zone, maybe we shoot right past it. And I think my personal next targets would be somewhere right around here, around 37,000 for Bitcoin's price. And again, if we look at the historical risk levels, that would kind of correlate and coincide with another boost in terms of following the 2019 bear market rally. So that's everything I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found some value in it. And until the next video, I'll see you guys then. Peace.